Was it a simple wardrobe malfunction, or a moment that marked the downfall of a musical icon? It's a scandal that rocked the entertainment world, leaving one career broken almost beyond repair, while the other soared to new heights. In the shiny world of the music industry, two names have had the most sway for decades: Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake. Before the storm of the 2004 Super Bowl, both artists were on their way to cementing their legacies as two of the greatest entertainers of their generations. Janet, a member of the legendary Jackson family, had a reputation as a fiercely independent and incredibly talented artist, a powerhouse with a string of hits and accolades. Meanwhile, Justin Timberlake was enjoying a meteoric rise to fame, transitioning from a teen idol in NSYNC to a respected solo artist with a golden voice and the world at his feet. Yet all it took was a split second during the Super Bowl 38 halftime show, a moment caught on millions of screens across the globe that changed the paths of both their careers, sending one on a path of decline and the other to even greater stardom. But today we have to ask, was Justin Timberlake the main reason for the downfall of Janet Jackson's career? Before the show that grabbed the headlines in 2004, Janet Jackson was no stranger to the limelight, a powerhouse of talent and an icon in her own right. Janet was not just another Jackson. She'd created her own identity for herself, commanding stages worldwide and blessing the charts with hits that you probably still listen to today. Multiple Grammys, groundbreaking albums, and record-breaking contracts highlighted her incredible pull in the industry. With music videos that told stories as vividly as her lyrics, she pushed the boundaries of what was possible for women in music. She was not just a singer, she was a performer, an actress, a humanitarian, and the very embodiment of artistic passion and dedication. While Janet was solidifying her legacy, a young star was on the rise, set on a path to become one of the defining voices of a generation. Justin Timberlake, initially a member of the Mickey Mouse Club, had already tasted superstardom as the lead vocalist of NSYNC. Their voices and dances caught female hearts worldwide. But Timberlake was not content with just being part of a musical phenomenon. He wanted to carve out a path of standing alone under the spotlight and showcasing his talents. With his first album, Justified, being a critical and commercial success, it showed that Timberlake was not just a boy band frontman, but a serious artist with a vision. On the night of February 1st, 2004, families, friends, and fans gathered around their TVs with eyes glued to the spectacle of the Super Bowl 38 halftime show, a performance graced by the unparalleled talents of Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake. The performance was a medley of their greatest hits, and a collaboration of two powerful forces in the music industry that promised a show that was nothing short of amazing. But as the final notes of the closing song, Rock Your Body, rang out, the world witnessed a moment that would cement itself into pop culture history.
By the end of this song,
choose your music.
choose your team.
Choose to be different.
Choose to be independent.
Choose to care.
Choose to care.
Choose to pursue your dreams.
With a choreographed move that was supposed to end with Justin Timberlake removing a bustier to reveal a red lace bra, there was an apparent miscalculation, leaving Janet Jackson exposed to millions worldwide. The media went into a frenzy, dissecting the incident frame by frame, second by second, with headlines pointing fingers and making accusations.
Janet Jackson is apologizing for her flash dance, a last-minute stunt that went too far.
Was this a well-planned publicity stunt, or was it, as they claimed, an unfortunate wardrobe malfunction? The public's reaction was equally divided, with some expressing outrage, calling for accountability, while others dismissed it as a simple mistake, a non-issue blown out of proportion. Social media platforms were in their baby stages back then, but chat rooms, forums, and early social networks were buzzing with discussions. With all the reactions coming in, it was clear where the blame was being placed: squarely on Janet, painting her as the architect of a scandal that tarnished the family-friendly image of the Super Bowl. Overnight, Janet Jackson had gone from an icon to another Jackson figure of controversy. In the days and weeks that followed, Janet found herself in a storm of backlash. A career built on years of hard work and talent was being dissected in the public eye. The incident brought her undeserved humiliation and resulted in the loss of opportunities that should have been within her grasp. She faced a kind of public shaming that was disproportionate and vehement. She was uninvited from the Grammys that year, in a blow from the industry that had just celebrated her a short time before. with her new releases being given the cold shoulder. It was a time when the world was turning its back on a woman who had given it nothing but amazing music. Justin, on the other hand, walked away without a scratch, watching from the sidelines as the controversy seemed to swallow Janet whole. The world watched as he distanced himself from the event, giving a lukewarm apology without any real intent behind it, and showing none of the solidarity with Janet that you might have expected. Instead, Timberlake chose self-preservation, a decision that people are still questioning today. Instead of facing any backlash, he continued his upward climb. Opportunities knocked on his door, with new albums hitting the charts and box office hits adding to his portfolio. Timberlake grew in a landscape that seemed to forgive and forget his role in the incident. With the media having the power it did to influence, headlines screamed scandal, with Janet's name featured, which pointed to her as the one to blame. It was an era of tabloid journalism, with media houses looking for the most sensational angle. Talk shows, opinion columns, and TV specials all honed in on her, scrutinizing her every move and every statement with a microscope that seemed to miss the other half of the role. The blame on Janet can clearly be seen as we go through the events that happened in the aftermath. First, there was the cancellation of her performance and invitation to the Grammy Awards. But even though he was an equal participant in the incident, Timberlake not only went to the event, but also enjoyed the spotlight by winning 2 awards. Then, Janet faced a cold shoulder. Her singles from the album Damita Joe, released after the incident, was met with radio silence. The moment she created for herself seemed to stutter and stall. Albums that followed faced scrutiny. Janet found herself grappling with a destroyed reputation. In interviews and media appearances that followed, questions would always steer towards that unfortunate moment, forcing her to relive it time and time again. At the same time, Timberlake's career was untouched by the controversies of the past. He grew into a powerhouse, diving into acting with roles in critically acclaimed movies like The Social Network and Friends with Benefits. Timberlake transformed into the absolute symbol of success. But after all these years, a lingering question remains. Were all the consequences really fair? While Janet faced an onslaught of public scrutiny, Justin's trajectory hardly wavered. The unforgiving nature of the industry towards Janet, when compared with the leniency given to Timberlake, paints a picture that's hard to justify. Now, as we fast forward to the present, we find ourselves in a society that's leaning towards reevaluating past incidents with a fresher, more nuanced understanding. The viewpoint around the incident has finally started to change, shaped by a world that now stands more aware and more inclined to seek justice, especially for women who had been wronged in the past. Social media platforms have allowed for multiple voices to be heard, voices that were muted in 2004. Now, it's time we dust off the lens of history and view the incident not as a scandal that defined an artist, but as a moment that should have called for understanding and empathy. It's time to look back with fresh eyes and understand what's fair. But most importantly, we have to ask the question, where could Janet's career have gone if the world didn't turn its back on her?